Good morning, students. Today you will be taught part 2 of the lesson Tempest. So let's have a quick recap before we begin our explanation. Students, I have already explained that Prospero and Miranda lived on a deserted island with the spirits Caliban and Ariel. One day they saw a ship coming towards the island, and Prospero raised a tempest with the help of his spirits, but keeping in mind that the people on board, especially his brother Antonio, King of Naples, his son Ferdinand, would safely come to the island. Miranda was very worried seeing the tempest and requests her father to save the crew members. Now children, let's start with the reading. 12 years ago, Miranda continued Prospero, I was the Duke of Milan, and you were a princess and my only heir. I had a younger brother whose name was Antonio, to whom I trusted everything. And as I was fond of retirement and deep study, I commonly left the management of my state affairs to your uncle, my false brother, for so indeed he proved. I, neglecting all my worldly ends, buried among my books, did dedicate my whole time to the bettering of my mind. My brother Antonio, being thus in possession of my power, began to think himself the Duke indeed. The opportunity I gave him of making himself popular among my subjects awakened in his bad nature a proud ambition to deprive me of my dukedom. This he soon effected with the aid of the King of Naples, a powerful prince, who was my enemy. Wherefore, said Miranda, did they not at that hour destroy us? So, children, you see that as described by Prospero, this is all the description about by Prospero, how they landed on the island. Prospero tells Miranda that he was the Duke of Milan 12 years ago. Children, what do you understand by Duke? It means a nobleman of high rank. Here it means that the nobleman of high rank means here it's a sort of a king. Miranda was his only heir, and she was nearly 3 years old. She was the only one to inherit all the estate of her father. That is, she was the successor. Heir means here inheritor. Since Prospero wanted to retire and go in for deep study of various books, exclusively of magic, he entrusted the dukedom to Antonio. He had full faith and trust on Antonio, but he was proved wrong. Prospero did not pay any heed, that is, attention to the worldly life, and was totally engrossed in his books to enhance his mind. So his wicked brother took advantage of all this situation and started dreaming of becoming the Duke himself. Greed surrounded him. In greed, children, you will see that one loses his sentiments and love for anybody and can land up to any bad activity or mischief. He got an opportunity of becoming popular among his subjects, and so he started to plan to overthrow his brother. He took help of the King of Naples, a powerful prince who was Prospero's enemy. Miranda was touched hearing this and thought they must have destroyed them at that moment. Let's continue the reading. My child, answered his father, they durst not. So dear was the love that my people bore me. Antonio carried us on board a ship, and when we were some leagues out at sea, he forced us into a small boat which without either tackle, sail, or mast. There he left us, as he thought, to perish. But a kind lord of my court, one Gonzalo, who loved me, had privately placed in the boat water, provisions, apparels, and some books which I prize above my dukedom. So, children, you see here that Miranda was very worried. When she heard the story, she thought that her uncle, with the help of King of Naples, must have destroyed him. But then, to Miranda's question of being destroyed by the enemies at that time, Prospero replied that they were not destroyed, as they were dearly loved by their subjects. Firstly, Antonio carried them on board a ship. And when they were some league, that means some distance out at sea, he forced them into a small boat. The boat which had no tackle, no sail, no mast. And it was a very dangerous thing that he had done. He thought that they would surely perish. Perish means destroyed. But due to kind and faithful person of his court, named Gonzalo, they were all saved. He had secretly placed water, provisions, apparel, means some clothes, and some books which he used to be proud of when compared to his dukedom. Dukedom here means the domain controlled by a duke or a duchess. Here we stop, children. We will move on in the next video. Let's continue, children. 2 lines from page 7. "Oh, my father," said Miranda, "what a trouble must I have been to you then?" "No, my love," said Prospero, "you were a little cherub that is preserved me, and your innocent smiles made me to bear up against my misfortunes. Our food lasted till we landed on the desert island, since when my chief delight has been in teaching you, Miranda, and well have you profited by my instructions." "Heaven thank you, my dear father," said Miranda. "Now pray tell me, sir, your reason for raising this sea storm." "Know then," said her father, "that by means of this storm my enemies, the King of Naples and my cruel brother, are cast ashore upon this island." Having so said, Prospero gently touched his daughter with a magic wand, and she fell fast asleep, for the spirit Ariel just then presented himself before his master to give an account of the tempest, and how he has disposed of the ship's company. And although the spirits were always invisible to Miranda, Prospero did not choose she should hear him holding converse, as would seem to her, with the empty air. So, children, you see that when Miranda heard how they were thrown by Antonio, her wicked uncle, she was very depressed and told her father that she must have been a burden to him during his troubled days. But Prospero told her that it was because of her. And he calls her cherub, meaning innocent child. Like an angel usually portrayed as a winged child, that he got all his strength to bear all those difficulties from her. Her smiles were enough to strengthen him. He told her that the food lasted till they reached the island. Then Prospero's delight was that he would teach Miranda, and she did learn. Miranda further asked her father the reason of raising the storm. He replied that it was because he wanted his enemies, that is his cruel brother Antonio and King of Naples, could come to this island. Prospero purposely touched his daughter with the magic wand so that she could fall asleep, as it was time for Ariel to come and tell him the details of the tempest. Though the spirits were not seen by anybody except Prospero, but still Prospero did not want Miranda to see her father holding converse. Converse here means talks with the empty air. Let's proceed the reading. "Well, my brave spirit," said Prospero to Ariel, "how have you performed your task?" Ariel gave a lively description of the storm and of the terrors of the mariners, and how the king's son Ferdinand was the first who leaped into the sea, and his father thought he saw his dear son swallowed up by the waves and lost. "But he is safe," said Ariel, in the corner of the aisle, sitting with his arms folded, sadly lamenting the loss of the king his father, whom he concludes drowned. "Not a hair of his head is injured, and his princely garments, though drenched in the sea waves, look fresher than before." "That's my delicate Ariel," said Prospero. "Bring him hither. My daughter must see this young prince." "Where is the king and my brother?" "I left them," answered Ariel, "searching for Ferdinand, whom they have little hopes of finding, thinking they saw him perish. One of the ship's crew, not one is missing, though each one thinks himself the only one saved, and the ship, though invisible to them, is safe in the harbor." Now, Prospero is inquiring Ariel all the details about storm and the ship and the crew. Ariel told him that all was safe and sound on the island, and even the ship was also safe in the harbor. Further, he said that Ferdinand was the first who leaped. Leaped means he jumped into the sea and he came up to the island. But his father, that is Antonio, thought that he was swallowed up by the waves. That means he must have been drowned in the sea. Ferdinand sat lonely on the isle. Isle means here island. Lamenting. Lamenting means feeling sad at the loss of his father, because he also thought that his father was also dead. Ariel told Prospero that not an inch of Ferdinand was harmed. Instead, he looked fresher. Prospero was proud of all these work of Ariel and asked him to bring Ferdinand in front of Miranda so that she could see him. Ariel told Prospero that his brother and the king of Naples all were safe and sound, and the ship was also safe. With this, we come to the explanation of the part 2 of the lesson Tempest. Have a good day.